Thank you very much, Albi Mujise, for the introduction. And I just want to start by welcoming all of you, ladies and gentlemen, from the media fraternity. I think we may have some few people here from amongst the society, just ordinary community members, NGOs. If you are here, you're most welcome as well. I just want to also take this opportunity on behalf of my colleagues who are here along this table to thank everybody who is here for joining us this afternoon, especially you, our friends from the media, because we do believe indeed that without you, our message will not be able to get out there. And this is a specific message related to Rhino. Not only that, but all other messages. As it has been custom, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today with our colleagues from the security cluster. Of course, not all of them are here today to present to you a report, which is a collective report that we've been implementing, actually on measures that we've been implementing throughout the last 2 years or so, related to our efforts in combating rhino poaching here in South Africa. Now, government departments, private sector, communities, and civil society are all united behind this fight against rhino poaching. And this is one area where we would like to say with confidence indeed that we see a great level of unity in government departments and all society in South Africa, in particular in implementing our integrated strategic management approach that was adopted by Cabinet in August 2014. And we are gathered here today to give a progress report in implementing those measures. The fact that we are all here today, ladies and gentlemen, you can see ministers, it's actually indicative of the political commitment to dealing with rhino poaching. And I would like to, at this point in time, introduce to you, once again, I know you know them, but for purpose of emphasis, our colleagues, the ministers who are here with us today. We have on my, let me start that side, the Minister of State Security. You said he is who earlier on?
It's the justice one.
Oh, you said something about the justice one. I'll come to that. David Masuta. And so this is David Mahlobo. And we have Minister Masuta here. Michael, not David. And then we have Deputy Minister Thompson, Barbara Thompson from the Department of Environment. And then, of course, the two Colonel and Major General have already been introduced to you. We were supposed to be with our two colleagues who were with us last time, you recall, the chair of the cluster, which is Minister Mapisa Ngakula, and Minister Nati Nhleko, who are unfortunately not able to join us today, but we are presenting this report at any rate to you. Ladies and gentlemen, President Zuma visited the center, Kruger National Park, last year, in November 2015, where he participated in various activities ranging from the fields events to the official opening of what we call the MEJOC. That's a Mission Area Joint Operations Center. This was another demonstration of political involvement in this fight at the highest level. Now, this center has become a benchmark for efficiency and in anti-poaching through the joint efforts of the departments that are operating there, that are part of the security cluster. President Zuma also personally interacted with field rangers who are at the forefront of the war against poaching, and also honored our fallen heroes, who, by the way, are found worldwide, although at that point in time we had not yet lost even a single ranger in South Africa, but he laid the wreaths in honor of the lives lost of rangers throughout the world, and that he did at the Ranger Memorial at the Kruger Gate. Ladies and gentlemen, the integrated strategic management approach of Rhino is our collaborative effort to tackle poaching of rhino. Its key pillars, for those who may have forgotten, are the following. It's compulsory interventions, managing rhino populations, because we do indeed have to deal with the populations as well and how we manage them. The long-term sustainable interventions, and national and international cooperation, and also we had other, and we still have other interventions. We coined these new interventions because we do believe that from time to time we may have to continue to add other interventions as and when we do find such, whether they are proposed by society or they come from any other quarters in our departments and government. Now, since we met last year in August, there have been a number of developments with regards to the implementation of the game-changing integrated strategic management approach of Rhino, which I am now addressing, starting with the compulsory interventions. And in that regard, compulsory interventions has got some sub-sectors, and I'll start therefore with anti-poaching compulsory intervention. As we indicated earlier on, ladies and gentlemen, the onslaught against rhino is indeed continuing unabated. This has necessitated that we step up our efforts, which amongst others, the improvement of our strategies being at the helm of the work that we do. And this approach has delivered a number of satisfying results over the past year, particularly with regard to the number of arrests that have been made. We would just like to share with you some arrests that have been made. And at this point in time, we have figures that are coming from the Kruger alone, because we'd like you to know that indeed the Kruger is where we are most hard hit, and these are the arrests that have been made. During 2015, ladies and gentlemen, a total of 317 poachers were arrested for rhino poaching related offenses. And of these, 202 were arrested in the Kruger National Park and 115 in the area adjacent to the park, meaning that it's in the area of Mpumalanga, either that people were arrested there having poached inside the Kruger or in any other park in the Mpumalanga area. So these are two figures related to those two specific areas. And this figure of 317 marked an increase in arrests from 258, which was the number of arrests in 2014. A total of 125 firearms were seized inside the park in 2015, and 63 just outside the park, and a total of 188 compared to 148 of the previous year, meaning that even that number has actually increased. These positive developments, ladies and gentlemen, are the outcome of a stepped-up collaboration within the security cluster and all our people in South Africa. We're working with communities that are adjacent to the park, we're working with the private sector and everybody. We'd like to acknowledge the role played and continue to be played by all those people. We are particularly pleased to announce that by the end of 2015, all rhino poaching crime scenes in Kruger National Park, and I want to emphasize, all rhino poaching crime scenes have been attended to in accordance with the standard protocols. What does that mean? It means that as we speak, we are giving you figures. That actually means that there was no rhino that would not have been attended to at a crime scene level. Whatever crime that had occurred in the Kruger National Park had been attended to, in line with the protocol. If one considers the serious backlog that we faced in 2014 and 2015, This is indeed a remarkable achievement, we'd like to believe. It is due to the sterling efforts of SAPS and our members at Kruger National Park, the forensic investigation team in particular. It's not just one team, the teams, I had an opportunity to meet them. They are really doing a sterling work. They are working with a significant trained people in that area, and we also know that a lot of training efforts have been made to capacitate them in whatever manner that is necessary, skills-wise, also in terms of equipment. Now, on the specific issue of crime scene management, funding amount of $2.7 million was received from the Jeff UNEP Rhino program, which we reported last year, and it was received in 2015. And this amount actually enabled us to purchase the forensic mobile crime scene unit, which the teams have expressed great appreciation to, by the way, now that they have those equipments. And these equipments continues to be particularly very useful in managing the crime scene in Kruger National Park, but in particular in the outlying areas. Now, in terms of interdepartmental collaboration between our Department of Environmental Affairs and the entire security cluster, as well as other partners, we have also provided intensive training and awareness raising for close to 400 magistrates and prosecutors last year. And thanks, Minister Masuta, to the work that we've been doing as teams. This was a necessary exercise in order for the magistrates to actually have a deeper understanding of what we are dealing with. At this point in time, we want to commend the dedication and persistence of the team of the Hawks, now better known as the DPIC, GPCI, who successfully undertook an operation that led to the arrest of 22 high-level members of a poaching syndicate. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we've been looking for these syndicates, and just arrest of a syndicate like this is a real good work that we will continue to cherish. Now, this operation calls the Operation Ringleader, which I'll ask Major General Wilson to just say something about it a little, just a few words about it, was as a result of yet another collaborative effort between members of Security Cluster, and was an outcome of an over 2-year long investigation. The charges, ladies and gentlemen, range from money laundering to offenses relating to Prevention of Organized Crime Act. And this operation confirmed for us the complexity of these syndicates and need for us to actually be persistent, as these are not matters that can be solved overnight. I did say that we followed through over a period of 2 years. Now, I want at this point in time to ask Minister Masuta, who will also give some insights, or maybe at the end, Minister, if you don't mind, I can go through this. Now, returning to the integrated strategic management approach of Rhino, I will now turn to another area that relates to compulsory interventions. We did report to you, ladies and gentlemen, that we are looking at the intensive protection zone establishment. About 2 years ago, these were a year and a half ago, they were established, these IPZs. Now, intensive protection zone concept remains an important pillar for the protection of a high-density rhino population in South Africa, and in particular in the Kruger National Park. The Kruger National Park is the epicenter of poaching challenge, and logically, this is where most international, regional, and national attention is actually directed. Now, the utilization of technology and well-equipped, well-trained reaction forces with good land and air mobility, as well as a significant night capability, have enhanced proactive anti-poaching operations. Elements of this IPZ concept are being expanded to other national and private parks here in South Africa, and in some other African countries as well. The third area still under the The same pillar relates to the proactive anti-poaching measures and the use of technology. In KwaZulu-Natal's Ezemvelo Rhino reserves, management and law enforcement have been equipped with new digital two-way radios communication system. Access control has also been improved in Rhino reserves. And as I mentioned earlier, President Zuma has also officially launched the MAJOC in the Kruger National Park, where he have employed the cutting-edge technology to aid us in our fight against rhino poaching. New technologies have been introduced there. Related to the ports of entry and exit, which is one area where we are doing work. We'd like to report that during our last report back on the integrated strategic management approach, we briefed you, ladies and gentlemen, and the entire South Africa on the successful work that's been done by our Environmental Inspectorate, that's the EMIs, also known as the Green Scorpions, at the ports of entry and exits. They are occupying space at OR Tambo International Airport and at King Shaka International Airport at this point in time. We did report that we hope that they will, we plan to have them expand into other ports as well. Our border training program focusing on illicit international cross-border movement of endangered species has since been intensified. We focus on operational aspects as we speak now. Now the Green Scorpions are rolling out this program together with the National Border Management Coordinating Committee. Now since October 2015, the teams has been trained and undertaken operations at a number of land and border posts. As a result of this program, to date, 1,047 border enforcement officials have received training, and this we believe will help to dealing with this problem of poaching, amongst many other things that other officials will be looking at who are at the border control movement. Now the rollout of this phase of the training will continue until the end of March this year. I now want to come to the poaching statistics. Ladies and gentlemen, taking into account the interventions that I've alluded to, of course not having come to an end yet of those measures, and other aspects of the integrated strategic management approach of Rhino that are under implementation. I am today here on behalf of the team that's sitting here with us, very, very pleased to announce that for the first time in a decade, the poaching situation in South Africa has actually stabilized. Considering that this is despite escalating poaching pressure, and in the face of an increased and relentless rise of poaching activity into protected areas, this is very, very good news and offers great cause for optimism. We did inform you, ladies and gentlemen, if I may just elaborate a bit on this intensification of poaching, that at any given time, our rangers, our police, and the teams that are led also by Colonel Jose and many others in the park actually come across a number of syndicates, a number of poachers. We call them, they work in threes, and I think later on as we elaborate on that, we'll remind you how many of those are found in a park at any given time. Those numbers have continued to be increasing. Irrespective of that, they have been found, they have been identified, they've been actually attended to, and now the numbers are stabilizing as a result of this good work that our teams are doing together, particularly here in the Kruger National Park. By the end of December 2015, and I did say earlier on that, by the way, the crime scene had actually been fully attended to. So the number that we're giving you was a full number and a correct number. The number of poached rhino was 1,175, still too much, of which actually 826 were in the Kruger National Park. To put this into context, ladies and gentlemen, by the end of December 2014, the number of poached rhinos stood at 1,215. 1215. This year is 1175 as at the end of December. Considering that there has been an approximately 10% increase in the number of poaching activity in the Kruger National Park, it is clear that were it not for these interventions, the situation would have been far worse, and many more rhino would have been lost. What is particularly good about this news is that whilst poaching numbers often rise drastically in December, this time, the much feared year-end spike was actually averted. We spent sleepless nights in December, but this time I think a lot of work was done, and a lot of that spike was actually averted. It is undeniable that this is because of the efforts of our people, in particular the concerted efforts of our law enforcement and security agencies. Ladies and gentlemen, the good news does not end there. We are also pleased to report that based on a new census of the rhino population conducted in sun parks, the South African rhino population continues to be stable. The 2015 survey determined that the Kruger National Park is home to now between 8,400 to 9,300 white rhino. Our two able doctors are here with us. One, Dr. Ferreira, who will talk to those issues in terms of during the question and answer sessions. I will now turn to other anti-poaching interventions included in the integrated strategic management approach, and that relates to managing our rhino populations. Last week, ladies and gentlemen, we gazetted the draft amendment of the norms and standards for the marking of rhinos and rhinoceros horn, and the hunting of rhinoceros horn for trophy hunting purposes for public comment. The amendment aims to clarify and strengthen certain clauses that are contained in the 2012 norms and standards, especially in respect of the movement and safekeeping of rhino horns and the management of the hunting of both white and black rhino. The public have until the 11th of February to comment on the proposed amendment. The translocation of rhino from high poaching risk areas to safer and well-selected localities has been an integral part of our strategy, as you may recall. During the year 2015, 124 rhinos were moved out of the Kruger National Park. And these translocations were meant to to protected areas, will continue in March 2016. Creating a suite of private, provincial, and community-managed rhino strongholds remain a key focus, in particular for SANParks biological management interventions. We want to emphasize this because our interventions aren't only about addressing security concerns, they are also about growing the rhino population. The Biodiversity Management Plan, which is our tool to address the long-term conservation of the rhino species, has been finalized and published for implementation, and that was done in December last year. This plan enables the evaluation of conservation progress and management, and sets out key actions and strategies that are needed to ensure that monitoring, protection, conservation, and sustainable management of the species will contribute to meeting conservation goals, as well as the long-term vision for the conservation of white rhino. Ladies and gentlemen, in considering the biological management of our rhino population, it is important to reflect on the contribution and efforts made by rhino private owner and communal land as well, those who are operating on communal land. A significant number of population on rhino and communal land have actually had the potential to contribute in a meaningful manner to the conservation of the species. A new survey commissioned by the Department of Environmental Affairs that was concluded in November 2015 provides fascinating insights into the white rhino that fall outside estate ownership. Approximately 5,000, or 1/4 of the global white rhino population, are in the hands of private and communal owners in South Africa. This figure has increased over the past 3 decades, from a starting point of approximately 800 in the mid-1980s to the current level of 5,000. This is really something that we have to continue to look at, and we appreciate the fact that those who are not necessarily government are also helping to increase the number of rhino populations in our country. This survey is the latest in the series of 10 surveys that are conducted since 1987 of white rhino in non-state hands. It is important to note that for the first time, the survey included land that has been successfully claimed through the land reform process and now has white rhino under communal ownership. Although there are not many at this point in time, or it has not reached the numbers that we'd like them to be at, they are there, however. Coming to the next area of intervention in the strategic management approach, ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking now to the long-term sustainability measures that also relates to communities. As President Zuma emphasized during his visit in the Kruger National Park in November last year, any long-term solution to addressing poaching must by necessity involve and also empower communities who live adjacent the parks. Not only those communities who live adjacent the parks, but others as well, but we emphasize those who live adjacent the parks. During the President's visit, the President called on communities to continue to be active role players in the conservation of wildlife, and in particular called the traditional leaders in South Africa, some of whom were there from the National House of Traditional Leaders, as well as the province. He called upon them to play a role, and indeed not just a role, but a greater role in ensuring that they get involved in matters of dealing with the rhino, either from a security point of view, but also from ownership point of view. In response to his call, the President's call, the traditional leaders pledged a firm commitment to heed this call by the President. That is why we will continue to engage in a short while, as I did say that it was in November last year. Early this year, in 2016, we will definitely continue to engage with our traditional leaders in order to drive programs that will see communities recognizing the value of wildlife and livelihood through ownership as well as through security issues. In December 2015, we launched our biodiversity economy strategy at the Biodiversity Indaba in Durban. At the heart of this strategy, ladies and gentlemen, is actually the promotion and the sense of guardianship of wildlife within our communities. Our aim is that in the next 14 years, 7 billion rand of fund that will continue to be made available. We do have actually earmarked this. Some of this money is already available, but in an MTF cycle, it will be made available for implementation of programs under the Biodiversity Economy Strategy. Now, the strategy seeks to contribute to the transformation of a biodiversity economy in South Africa through inclusive economic opportunities, reflecting the sector which is equitable in the rhino and in other species of wildlife. It will also look at equitable and fair processes and procedures of ensuring that there is attainment of these resources by, in particular, the previously disadvantaged. This will largely be facilitated through our Environmental Protection and Infrastructure Program, what is better known in the environmental cycles as EPIP, as well as through the mobilizing of game donations. 107 community projects are at various stages of development. That entails, amongst others, refurbishing some of the lodges, building some of the lodges and facilities, fencing and so forth, for communities' ownership of these wildlife species, so that they too can run properly managed facilities like tourism and operations in the wildlife. They will assist with infrastructure development and the transfer of the nation of animals, including to tribal authorities and in various provinces. In the Bushbuckridge area in Mpumalanga, for example, ladies and gentlemen, which has been identified for the development of an expanded tourism and wildlife economy and conservation estate. Some of the facilities have already been constructed and refurbished. We will be handing them over to communities, of course, under good management. We'll ensure that they have management capacities as well. The ultimate goal is to establish a vibrant local economy based on sustainable management of the area's natural and other assets. And these developments will address poverty and livelihood security and overall enhancement of benefits to the local communities. At the Biodiversity Indaba, several pledges were made for contributions to community empowerment. And we as government will be donating more high-value species such as rhino and sable to communities who own land and have good animal protection measures in place. Now, the Department of Environmental Affairs will lead a process of implementing the strategy in partnership with key departments like Science and Technology, Rural Development and Land Reform, Trade and Industry, Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, Small Business Development, Tourism and Economic Development. Now, on the sideline of the Biodiversity Indaba 4, dehorned rhino were handed over to a community trust at a ceremony in KwaZulu-Natal. The donation was facilitated by the Department of Environmental Affairs in KwaZulu-Natal, Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs. The rhino were donated by Ezemvelo, KZN Wildlife. A similar donation of 4 white rhino will soon be handed over to another community once additional security measures on the communal property have been finalized. We as government remain committed, ladies and gentlemen, to ensuring that we facilitate community ownership of wildlife resources as an integral part of our rhino protection strategy. The other area that I would like to get into is related to the international work that we do. We have already informed you that we have signed memoranda of understanding with different countries. One of those is Vietnam. As part of our memorandum of understanding that was signed in Vietnam in 2013, South Africa has played a host to the Vietnamese Youth Wilderness Trial Program in 2015. This is a demand reduction campaign that will capacitate young rhino ambassadors throughout school in Vietnam. And we believe that this will actually help into the future, maybe not now will we realize the results, but into the future. This program will run until 2017. Related to Cambodia, in August, our August briefing, we reported that we have signed an MOU with Cambodia. We are going to be following this MOU signing with an implementation plan that includes a carnival that is planned to be carried out in Cambodia that is aimed at awareness raising of rhino and wildlife management. There's one country that we had also targeted to attend to and work with, which is the Lao Republic. We have also finalized the MOU with the People's Republic of Lao, which we hope to sign soon once they are available. Regarding Mozambique, ladies and gentlemen, our cooperation continues. And this relationship has actually further been cemented not only during the discussions held between President Zuma and President Filipe Nyusi of Mozambique in October 15, but also through a number of projects that have been undertaken. And allow me to briefly highlight some of the key developments in this regard. The presentation to Mozambique's environmental police with a donation of equipment to the value of 2.6 million rand to aid in strengthening Mozambique's environmental law enforcement efforts and support of rangers in Limpopo National Park was finalized successfully after President Zuma handed over those equipment to us. They have reached Mozambique. The infrastructure and facilities upgrades at Mapai Base and Gaza Camp in the Limpopo National Park, as well as improving roads and access control at critical entry points in the park has actually been done, and that continues to be a very invaluable program which helps the Mozambican side, us on the Mozambican side as well. The guard and field ranger training in association with South African Wildlife College was done. An investment of 1.7 million rand in the installation of an advanced digital communication system in the Limpopo National Park was also done. We also acknowledge the resettlement of villages that is continuing to be finalized by our Mozambican counterparts as part of the community resettlement program at the Limpopo National Park. That is still underway. I think we are left with just 3 or so villages, as it was anticipated that this program should be completed by 2017. International and regional integration cooperation, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say that we do indeed continue to work with our regional and international enforcement networks such as the World Customs Organization, the CITES Secretariat, World Bank, United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and Interpol, and all these bodies making up what we call in short IQUIC. We are thus able to strengthen our priority actions at a national level, as well as harness the support of international partners for those priorities that involves transnational syndicates. South Africa has and will continue to play a role in the advisory board of Interpol Environmental Compliance Management Committee. Regarding the Republic of China, the People's Republic of China, we know that in December, the 6th Summit of FOCAC was held here in Johannesburg, resulting in the Johannesburg Action Plan, which includes provisions relating to the illegal trade in wildlife. And amongst this is the rhino. South Africa welcomes the inclusion of the wildlife conservation and combating of illegal trade of wildlife into the FOCAC Action Plan. The ministerial meeting of heads of states, summit of FOCAC, saw 2 countries agree to transform the wildlife trade dynamics from Africa to China, with a view to significantly reducing illegal trade and supporting the sustainable utilization of Africa's wild plants and animals, including regulated legal trade in wildlife. Regarding North Korea arrests, we have unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, also had to part ways with a diplomat from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, who was stationed here in South Africa, due to a concern raised around his conduct and involvement in the illegal trade in horns obtained from poached rhino. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation in South Africa has facilitated this movement out, and we are much appreciative of this action. South Africa initiated this process to investigate this conduct and then commenced with the diplomatic process, which resulted in this expulsion. Such criminal activities, ladies and gentlemen, where diplomats abuse diplomatic privileges to commit crimes, will not be tolerated in South Africa, and we will not hesitate to take action against anyone else, as you have seen our department having taken action. And we are really happy that they did what they did. Would like to turn briefly to a number of key other developments in the sector. The committee of inquiry that you know we have always been speaking about. As you know, a committee of inquiry has been established in terms of cabinet decision to investigate the possibility of a possible trade in rhino horn or otherwise. The Interministerial Committee will be meeting soon to consider the report of the Committee of Inquiry, because that committee has now finalized its work, and the Technical Advisory Committee has also considered work that will be tabled at the Interministerial Committee. And the Interministerial Committee will continue to engage with that process as they will be formulating, and we are also part of that departments that are sitting here, continue to refine and actually engage with that report and table recommendations at Cabinet for approval in due course. We thought that we should just update you on that work that we are doing as well. With regard to domestic trade in Rhino horn, many of you, ladies and gentlemen, will be following developments in the Rhino horn moratorium judgment that was handed down at the High Court of South Africa, Gauteng Provisional Division, Pretoria, in November 2015. An application for leave to appeal was filed with the Registrar of the High Court on the 9th of December 2015. The application for leave to appeal suspended the operation and execution of the judgment in terms of Section 18 of the Superior Courts Act 2013. And this means that the moratorium on the domestic trade in rhino horn remained in place as at the time. Our application for leave to appeal was unfortunately dismissed with cost on the 20th of January 2016, which was when? Yesterday? Yesterday. With the result that, being that the court's decision is that moratorium is no longer in place. My legal team is not yet privy to the reasons for this decision by the court, but I've decided already to apply for leave to appeal to the Supreme Court of Appeal, having engaged and interacted with some of the discussions or the points that actually came out of the discussions in court. My applications, once launched, will result in the suspension of the operation and execution of the court's decision to review and set aside the moratorium. I will not be commenting any further on this application, but it must be emphasized that this matter does not have an impact on the international trade in rhino horn for commercial purposes. Commercial international trade in rhino horn is still prohibited in terms of the provisions of the convention, that is the convention, CITES convention. We are reminding you so because the moratorium was dealing with the internal arrangements. So at an international level, there is still no trade that is allowed. CITES issues, that is COP17 that we'll be hosting. We have informed you already, ladies and gentlemen, that we will be hosting at South Africa the CITES conference. And the CITES Standing Committee related to the preparations for the 17th COP CITES, which is hosted by South Africa. The Standing Committee has already said, some members are here, they have come back from there. The meeting also of the CITES is actually scheduled to take place from the 24th September 2016 to the 5th of October 2016 at the Sandton Convention Center. A notification containing detailed information related to the logistical arrangements will be released by the CITES Secretariat later this month. Those will include information relating to registration, accommodation, visa requirements for participants, exhibitions, and site events. On behalf of our government, the Department of Environmental Affairs had a stakeholder workshop on the 9th of December as part of facilitating this, to share information with stakeholders that are registered to participate in the preparations for the COP and the process leading up to COP, and to solicit their views as well. The agenda of COP has been confirmed, but a draft agenda was discussed based on matters emanating from COP16 of CITES. Ladies and gentlemen, what is evident is that all sectors of society have mobilized around the campaign to save our rhino. It is heartening to see that South Africa, and indeed South Africans from all walks of life, I dare say, with the support of the donor community and NGO community, both locally and internationally, are behind this fight against rhino poaching and working very hard alongside our government. This briefing would not be complete, ladies and gentlemen, without acknowledging the support that we have received from various entities and stakeholders, both locally and internationally. The support received from the Peace Park Foundation, the CSIR, the Warren Buffett Foundation, and the Dutch and Swedish postcode lottery funds in particular. We are also grateful for the support received from a number of countries, the US, Germany, Netherlands, and the Global Environment Facility, which is a GEF fund that's contributed into by many other countries. There are too many to name here, ladies and gentlemen. But we are indeed immensely grateful for all your contributions, including our anonymous donors and our younger Rhino ambassadors, who are always finding ways to creatively raise funds to support this cause. As we have emphasized throughout, it is our people who stand between our precious wildlife resources and the poacher's gun. The work they do on the poaching front lines in the service of their country is to be commended again and again. I mentioned Mr. Amos Mzimba, who with his K9 Belgian Shepherd killer, who recently received a medal from the UK's People Dispensary for sick animals for his contribution towards the successful arrest of poachers in the Kruger National Park. On behalf of the whole of South Africa, we want to salute you, our dear Amos. The war against rhino crime cannot be won by government alone. As did President Zuma say in his visit at the Kruger National Park last year, we once again implore each one of you to report any wildlife crime you are aware of, so that we can continue to successfully act against those who are behind this senseless crime. Let us make 2016 the year in which we can declare that we are not only close to winning the war against poaching, but we have all stood up together to do our part. So much so that we, as the teams that are sitting here, security cluster, colleagues present here today, are claiming this success on behalf of each and every one of you, South African. I thank you very much.